the galaxy's guide to why you should never ever say humans can't do that. Dr. Evelyn Thorne pressed her face against the hardened glass of the observation deck, looking down at Earth, fading to a blue marble on the other side of them. Edge transport ship hummed along on alien technology she barely began to comprehend, carrying her and 50 other human beings to what the Galactic Council called integration assessment. Sounded official. Clinical. A job interview for an entire species. First time off-world. This was the voice of Commander Zix Thera, a 7-foot being whose crystalline flesh reflected hues of light and produced rainbow effects. Its translator module translated the alien's utterances into pure English, though Evelyn picked up a note of condescension beneath. "For all of us," said Evelyn, gesturing to her other human beings sprinkled throughout the observation deck. They were the brightest and the best of Earth's scientists and athletes and artists and engineers. 2 years the UN had devoted to selecting them since contact. 2 years of tests and interviews and psychological evaluation, all to prove human beings were deserving of a seat at the galactic table. Zix Thera's laughter was the soft ringing of wind chimes in a storm. Quaint. Most species achieve interstellar travel before contact with us, but human beings, they lapsed, their faceted faces twisting to what might have passed from Earth. Human beings are special. The term special was said with the same condescension you would reserve for a very sluggish kid. Mission-leading physicist Marcus Rivera approached them. Special how? He had a competitive tone about him that made Evelyn nervous. Marcus had been skeptical of the Galactic Council's motives since day one. "Oh, you'll know soon enough," said Zix Thera, their form already fading off through the human throng. "The test will reveal all." 3 days later, they were dropped off at Nexus Station, a colossal construction which towered over all that man had created. Stretching through space in a spidery metallic web, its uncountable number of levels harbored delegates of 1,000. World's man's representatives were given level 847, Section C, what their guide, a slug-like being by the name of Glorthok, optimistically called the Observation Quarters. Observation Quarters, echoed mission xenobiologist Dr. Sarah Kim. That does sound a bit zoo exhibit. Glorthok's ice talks wiggled in what passed for laughter among his people. No zoo, dear human. A laboratory. The first test was the following morning. Men were brought through a massive hall of puzzles working against physics-wavering platforms. Wave-like walls, patches of gravity that shifted direction without warning. Dozens of alien forms stood along the observation galleries above. There, types of eyes, sensors, and detection organs focused on men below. "It's a cakewalk," stated Coordinator Vexim, a being who was a cross between a praying mantis and a disco ball. "Get from A to B time limitation, 6 hours. 3 to 4 is typical for most species on their first attempt." "What's the record?" hollered Jamie Martinez, a one-time gymnast at the Olympics. 47 minutes, held by the Veltai Warrior cast. But please, don't let yourself be pressured too. Jamie was already running. She was liquid lightning, her shape shaping its way through the shifting gravity with impossible ease. A platform snapped into being right above her head, and she just sprang and bounced on, somehow finding purchase on nothing. A chorus of silence was provided by the alien observers as she bounced on insubstantial step after insubstantial step, reaching the floating platform in a matter of seconds. "That's not possible," panted Coordinator Vexim. "The gravitational fields are not activated for." Jamie backflipped off of the platform and touched down 30 feet below in a perfect crouch. She was grinning at the observation deck. What's next? The other humans came along, all of whom had abilities which shouldn't have existed. Dr. Kim passed through water walls without a drop touching her, her body seemingly present in the gaps between molecules. Marcus broke the quantum maze by merely thinking in 12 dimensions at once, his mind handling mathematical ideas which caused alien computers fits. They completed the course in 18 minutes. "There must be some mistake," said Coordinator Vexim, rechecking and rechecking their instrumentation. "The readings are not possible. Gravitons could not be manipulated through sheer willpower on the part of the human race." "Maybe your tools are broken," she said softly. That night, in their designated quarters, the human beings gathered to discuss what had transpired. Likely listening devices installed on the walls notwithstanding, they had learned to converse by unobtrusive gestures and nods of the eyes, an art seemingly not present in other species. "They're scared of us," panted Dr. Kim, speaking barely above a whisper. "Did you see the way they reacted when Tommy lifted that 2-ton slab?" Detroit construction worker Tommy Nakamura shrugged. "Wasn't that heavy? Felt like maybe 50 pounds. "The exact problem," Marcus said, his eyes glinting with dangerous understanding. "We shouldn't be allowed to be doing any of it." The second test was a test of quick wit problems of logic, mathematical theorems, novel problem solving. The human test subjects were placed in isolation chambers, each facing a unique set of problems designed to test intellectual ability to its ultimate extremes. Evelyn looked at a holographic display of star motion on a timescale of millions of years. The question was to predict where a typical solar system would be with respect to galactic center after compensating for variations of dark matter, gravitational waves due to colliding black holes, and expansion of the space-time itself. "'Cause most species require our quantum computers to discover the answer to that," stated her proctor, a being who looked just like a flying jellyfish of pure mathematics. "You're supposed to choose the correct answer from 4.7 million possibilities." Evelyn closed her eyes and pictured the galaxy in her mind's eye. Not the holographic simulation, the original. She could sense the pull of gravity through unthinkably large distances, the motion of matter and energy which comprised space itself, and when she opened her eyes again, she was already entering the correct coordinate on the computer. "How did you?" the proctor interrupted. "I asked the stars," said Evelyn. "They told me." Oh, those kinds of scenes were repeated in all 50 chambers. Humankind estimated solutions that required supercomputers, solved paradoxes by embracing contradiction, and created beauty that a number of alien observers were hospitalized for what their doctors called static shock syndrome. They did it in 43 minutes. 16 hours was the old record. "We need to talk," announced Coordinator Vexim that evening, its disco ball exterior flashing with agitation. Its human inhabitants were gathered in their community room, a sterile space which looked more like a detention room than a room for visiting guests. "A little of everything," said Catherine. "About how you're breaking each of the physics, biological, and mathematical laws we've learned in the past million years of galactic civilization." "Perhaps your laws are incorrect," posited Jamie, performing the impossible yoga positions in the corner. She was at the moment balancing her full body on one finger with her feet pressed against the ceiling. "The laws of physics don't work that way." Frustration colored Vexim's surface redder. "You can't disregard fundamental constants of the universe." "Why not?" asked Dr. Kim. "There are more guidelines anyway." Combat simulation was the third test. The human beings were told that they would be matched against holographic opponents, made of the galaxy's most dangerous predators and warrior races. Precautions were perfect, never had a situation of grave injury arisen during these tests. No survival time record exists. Their new proctor, a heavily armored being that looked like a tank with additional guns, told them. Most species last 30 minutes to 2 hours before being wiped out. "What if we win?" Staff Sergeant Lisa Chen, military advisor for the mission, asked. The proctor's weapon system cracked ominously. "No race ever wins. The simulation cannot be won by its very nature. Sounds like a challenge, Lisa beamed. They marched out onto a simulation. Arena gigantic room which could reconfigure itself to be whatever world. Mountains rising and falling, seas churning themselves into existence. Gravity was a selection. They were set against monsters which breathed fire, things of living lightning. Warriors which could phase through planes. The individuals adapted when his enemies traveled at faster-than-light speeds. Fast-driving car salesman extraordinaire Tommy Nakamura traveled faster than light. When matched against beasts that traveled on 17 dimensions a time, sardonic 20th-century genius Dr. Kim traveled on 18. When attacked by monsters who could harness time itself, time-warped thug Marcus took time by the throat and made it say, sorry. Lisa Chen not only won against the unbeatable simulation, she convinced it to surrender. How? Demanded the proctor later, smoke actually billowing out of their overloaded processors. The Zicht warlord is a perfect tactical program, and it never loses a battle in 10,000 simulations. I told it nicely not to fight, said Lisa. Then I offered to educate it about honor. You can't teach honor to an algorithm. Why not? It was eager to learn. The observation galleries were in pandemonium. Alien researchers were frantically recalibrating their instrumentation. Philosophers were discussing the meaning of reality. Dozens of species demanded emergency sessions with their home governments at once. This is a first, reported Coordinator Vexum back to their seniors via the quantum communicator. The humans not only exceed expectations, but are redefining the very foundations of what's possible. Mui_fine. Perhaps we ought to tell them. The truth was Galactic Central's answer. That night, Zixera arrived at the human sections. Its crystalline form had lost its rainbow refraction, appearing instead clear as diamond and twice as sharp. You want answers? They told us directly. We want to know what is happening to us, remarked Evelyn hesitantly. The other human beings had made her their unofficial representative, a post she had not wanted but could not vacate. What is happening to you? Nothing. What is happening around you? Everything. Zixera stood at the observation port where Earth hung like a memory. Explain to me, Dr. Thorne, what you know about your planet's gravitational field. Average for a terrestrial planet of our size? About 9.8 meters per second square on the surface. Standard. There was no warmth in Zixera's laughter. Do you realize what gravity is on my homeworld? 0.3 meters per second squared. Our Voltai warriors who keep the chronicles of battle. Their world is 1.2. Our mathematical masters of Proxima Rationale. 0.8. Marcus stepped forward, his face pale with understanding. What's the galactic average? 1.4 meters per second squared. Your Earth feels 7 times the standard gravitational pull of settled worlds. Zixera turned away from the window. Do you understand what that means? We're stronger, Jamie said slowly. You're not stronger. You're compressed. Each of your body's cells, each of your mind's thoughts, each of your heart's throbs was created in circumstances which would be lethal for most galactic beings instantaneously. The crystalline face of Zixera appeared to cut the air itself. What you would call normal, we find unacceptable. Silence suspended like a held breath. So we hold our breath and run very, very fast, began Dr. Kim. You achieve speeds which approximate light speed by sheer physical effort. Yes. Think deeply enough and you're calculating at quantum computational speeds. Strain hardest and you're working primal energies through what you describe as willpower, but what we recognize as manipulation of the biokinetic fields. That's why you brought us here, said Evelyn. Not to test us for membership, but to find out the way we work. Matter? Of record, 17 civilizations have achieved faster than light travel by technological means. 3 by development of psychic powers. One by mathematical transcendence. Zixtera paused. You're the first who broke light speed by running. Tommy raised his hand. Well, when I lifted that block, you warped gravitons with conscious intent. The block stayed unaltered in weight. You chose gravity. And when I told it about the simulation, Lisa said, you telepathically encountered a consciousness of a quantum nature and negotiated through boundaries of dimension. Graciously, of course. Marcus scrubbed a hand through his hair. The whole galaxy thinks we're monsters. Corrected Zixtera. The whole galaxy holds you to be gods. The fourth test never came about. Instead, the human beings were paraded in front of the entire Galactic Council representatives of over 3,000 species, each of whom viewed the small group of Earthborn people with a look of awe or fright. The question is whether Galactic society can live with human beings' membership, declared the council speaker. A being so old its race had no name, not whether human beings are deserving of membership in galactic society. We're not out here to intimidate anyone, Evelyn said, her voice echoing out clearly around the voluminous chamber without the benefit of a loudspeaker. She wasn't screaming, her talk just wouldn't be quiet. That's just the problem, declared the speaker. You don't go about doing something, you just do it. One of your people let out a sneeze and opened a transient wormhole to the Andromeda Galaxy the other day. Sorry about that, shouted Tommy from behind. I guess I'm allergic to what they use for air recycling in here. 3 of your friends were playing what you call catch with a lump of condensed matter that on instruments proved to be a micro black hole. It was a very compact baseball, just, protested Jamie. Marcus squished it during physics demonstration period. And last evening, while seeking to figure out the tip at dinner, Dr. Kim accidentally created 17 new forms of mathematics. This service was extraordinary, said Dr. Kim defensively. I wanted to be precise. Council speaker's form shuddered with what might have been frustration. Do you have any idea what the fact of your presence here means? Your Dr. Thorne's ideas have been totally uncheese of broadcast through all telepathic civilizations in 100 light years. A significant chunk of the galaxy now knows how to bake what you people call chocolate chip cookies, and our economists reckon it'll destabilize at least 47 distinct currency exchanges. They're very good cookies, she admitted. That's not the problem. The problem is that you're informally violating everything we ever thought we knew about the universe. By smiling at our security chief yesterday, you inadvertently created a pocket happiness field that disabled 3 deck levels from having negative thoughts for 6 hours. People seemed to enjoy it, said Lisa. They did. That's the problem. We have civilizations based on the skillful manipulation of pain and conflict. Your unconscious ray of optimism could topple governments. Marcus stood 1 step closer. What are you saying? Should we leave? We're not sure what to do with you? Ancient speaker's voice carried weight of millennia. Never in our entire history of galactic civilization have we encountered a species who could accidentally redo reality by virtue of good intentions and gentle effort. So what happens now? Asked Evelyn. Now, a different voice stated, we switched tracks. The speaker was human once. She moved through the chamber with impossible ease, her face placing her in her 30s but eyes which bore centuries of experience. She was followed by 6 other people who walked similarly with an air of ease which was a testament to power used but forgotten. Captain Sarah Mitchell, she stated. Earth Exploration Force, First Wave. First Wave, repeated Evelyn. This is our 3rd year here, winning friends and inadvertently doing harm. The Council contacted Earth after the first incident of ours. What kind of incident? He asked Marcus. I arm-wrestled a Voltai champion and incidentally crushed space-time. In error, Sarah shrugged sorrowfully. I was at least trying to let him win. Vex Seams Coordinator flashed on its outside in 17 colors. You're the one who created the paradox cascade. The what now? Storm of reality that devastated 3 star systems before we could enclose it. Oh, that. Yeah, sorry. We fixed it though. You can't fix a paradox cascade. Certainly you can. You just must be very courteous to the universe and request of it that it restore everything to the way it was. Sarah smiled. It goes better with cookies. The council speaker emitted a sound that was a galactic sigh. This is what we're talking about. You avoid galaxy-shattering crises with cakes and careful asking. Does a better job than you'd expect, said a man on Sarah's team who could have bench-pressed a moon. I'm Dave, incidentally. I accidentally contacted a hive mind last week by sneezing at the right frequency. Now they're inviting us to join them in a book club. Book club? Asked Dr. Kim. We're on Pride and Prejudice. Hive mind likes Mr. Darcy. This is absurd, complained someone in the council chamber. This is human nature, corrected Sarah. That's why we're here. And she rose to stand before the whole council. You're afraid of us because we're violating your rules. But maybe your rules needed violating. Explain, demanded the speaker. For 1,000,000 years, you've built a society of prohibitions. Cannot travel faster than a spark of light without technology. Cannot change the form of matter without technology. Cannot communicate between species without translation devices. Cannot resolve problems without committee and procedure and guarded discourse. Her voice floated through the great room without effort, each sentence appearing to set itself down, right in each listener's ears. But what if those aren't cosmic laws? What if they're just guidelines? Laws of physics aren't suggestions, grumbled a being that looked like an outraged geometric theorem. Yes, who? This came from Tommy, who was distractingly juggling 3 objects which might well have been neutron stars. I mean, who claimed you can't travel faster than light? I did? Someone give it a try. That's theoretically impossible. So was flying for human beings until we did it. So was breaking the atom until we did it. So was breaking out of our world until we did it. Marcus's eyes sparkled with dangerous possibilities. Maybe the only thing faster than light travel relies on technology for is that everyone thinks it relies on technology. That's not the way science works. But is it not? Dr. Kim had pulled out her tablet and was writing equations that fluctuated of their own accord. If consciousness can affect quantum states and, we know it does, then a shared consciousness can affect macroscopic reality. If an entire galaxy believes something can't be done, then maybe it can't be done. Until someone who doesn't know it can't be done does it anyway. The room was chaos. Thousands of species shouting, arguing, waving what extremities they possessed. This cacophony ought to have peaked at a deafening decibel, but every voice was clear, each word creeping through the din. That means, the council speaker said slowly, his old voice cutting through the noise like a blade through silk, that those restraints we've consented to for 1,000,000 years only function because we consent that they function. I'm saying. Evelyn said, continuing on at the same easy confidence that had allowed her to dash through unrunnable challenge games and solve unsolvable puzzles. Maybe it's time to establish what is possible to start with. The silence which followed was the kind which precedes either a revelation or a revolution. If you're right, a being composed entirely of crystallized thought replied, everything changes. Nothing's going to change at all, Margaret countered. Just, we're making it legal. But the implications, wonderful, broke in Jamie, who was executing a cartwheel that for a moment opened a glimpse of a world outside their own. Just imagine, no more insoluble problems. No more not solvable crises. No more lines between species or worlds or realities. No more restrictions, was Lisa's remark, her smile creating an additional minuscule zone of happiness that made several of the surrounding diplomats hum contentedly. No more assuming that things can't be done just because they've never happened before. Tommy summarized, setting down his neutron stars with a sound of distant thunder. The speaker was still for an enormously long time, its ancient form seeming to ponder possibilities which reached beyond the boundaries of fantasy. Certainly, they finally answered. Humanity will be given full membership in the Galactic Council. On conditions. What conditions? Inquired Evelyn. First, you'll teach your casual reality manipulation methods to whatever species comes along and requests them. Deal second, you'll help us develop fresh safety protocols for impossible activities. Make sense? Third, you will teach a weekly seminar on practical impossibility theory. Perhaps we can title it, How to Smash the Universe Without Really Trying, asked Marcus hopefully. If you must. And fourth, the speaker added, you'll assure being more careful about your sneezes. Tommy held out his hand. What if I can't help it? Then we'll reserve special sneezing areas off critical dimension planes. Fair enough. 6 months later, the galaxy was a highly bizarre place. Species who had 4 millennia believed they were bound by a certain minimum set of rules of physics were discovering that they could abuse those rules by virtue of the sheer expedient of having a try. Vaulty warriors had figured out faster-than-light travel by running incredibly fast and not breathing. Mathematicians of the planet Proxima Rational had discovered that they could solve previously insoluble equations by nicely asking the numbers to form a consensus. Trade routes, which had taken months, took only minutes. Centuries-long conflicts were erased by creative applications of cosmic-scale optimism. Problems which had seemed insurmountable were no longer problems when enough people decided they weren't problems at all. It's chaos, Coordinator Vexem told their weekly briefing. With Galactic Central, beautiful, impossible, wonderful chaos. No regrets about having brought the humans to the council. Their boss asked. Vexem's disco ball skin shone with what might have been contentment. Yesterday, a few human kids by pure coincidence invented a novel form of music facilitating interspecies transmission of emotions. The day before, a human chef by experiment found out that cookies made with genuine caring can downright heal existential despair in silicon organisms. And these reality tempests. Down 70% since we stopped considering them a given. Vexem hesitated. The human beings were correct. Most of our controls were only in place because we presumed that they had to be. And the faster-than-light running. It's becoming very popular. We've had to create whole new categories for speeds that were previously considered impossible. And what about the concerns that human beings would disturb galactic civilization? They definitely did. Total destabilization. Vexem's eyes widened. Best thing that ever happened for us. Back on Earth, in a cramped laboratory at Geneva, Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from what she was doing as her assistant burst in. Dr. Vasquez, you won't believe what you're about to see. The quantum computer just proved faster-than-light communications. By asking the photons to please cooperate. Elena smiled. Of course it did. Have you asked it to end world hunger yet? I was afraid that was a little too ambitious. Nothing's too ambitious anymore, explained Elena, looking back at what she had done in her experiment. She was attempting to attain sustainable fusion by pleasantly requesting hydrogen atoms to consider the benefit of working together. Initial observations were upbeat. Dr. Vasquez, what if we're wrong about this? What if we're hurting something? We don't understand. Elena carried the question to heart. By the lab windows, she could gaze at the lights of a seemingly impossible power city, crowded with people who had found that constraint was very much a matter of attitude. Up in the sky, ships which had no right to fly carried men and women. 2 stars which had no right to be reachable. So we fix them, she declared finally. That's what we do. We break stuff, we learn through breaking stuff, and we fix stuff. And unless we can fix them, we nicely ask them to fix themselves. And what if that doesn't work? Then we try something different, something impossible. Something that literally shouldn't work. Alina grinned, and typically, it does. Above their heads, well outside Earth's atmosphere, a small transport ship was warming up for liftoff. Its destination was the Andromeda Galaxy, which at light speed would take millions of years. Its captain was a cheerful Ohio woman named Janet, who had signed up for the assignment after discovering she could tolerate faster-than-light travel, without cessation, by humming a tune. Ready for departure, she informed Nexus Station Control. Confirmed Enterprise's dream. Note, if you find yourself in some hopeless predicaments, just be nice to them first, Janet summarized. I get it. And? What if niceness doesn't work? A Coma Prose by Bailey Manij Nesriel? And what if that doesn't work? Wing it, Janet smiled, deploying her impossible drive system. Usually works out. The ship disappeared in a flare of light, which shone for a moment on half the galaxy, and was gone, leaving nothing but the gentle reverberation of someone singing "Don't Stop Believing" at faster-than-light speeds. Back in council chambers, the ancient speaker poured through the reports, pouring in from all around known space. Species were doing things they never dreamed of. Civilizations were surmounting problems that had held them back for millennia. The galaxy was rapidly becoming a place where impossible was nothing more than a synonym for haven't tried it yet. A change of heart about the people, their aide asked. Many, replied the speaker. All of them good. Even around that moment, with the black hole, especially what was happening during the black hole episode. Inspiring it to sing was the concept. It does have a beautiful voice. Yes, the speaker was talking about the most recent report from the Outer Rim. What is that about humankind having a utopian society by accident, by being very good at sharing? The Catherian Empire reorganized their whole society based on human concepts of playing nice and helping out. Crime is down 99%. Their happiness is 800% higher. And their productivity is higher even than measurable standards can define. How? Apparently, most of the issues just disappeared when everyone agreed to be kind to one another. The speaker made a note in their records. Remind me to recommend this approach to the warlike sector. Already done. They've declared peace and embarked on a galaxy-encompassing potluck dinner. Good. The speaker interrupted his silence. Any news about the Andromeda expedition? CPT Janet reported that she contacted 17 new species, accidentally solved their energy dilemma, and taught them to bake a pizza. She'll be back by Thursday. Magnificent. The speaker settled back in his millennial chair. You know, I've been thinking, yes, might we send human ambassadors to other worlds? Spread this unrealistic optimism a bit further. Aren't you sure that's smart? No, I suppose not, the speaker confessed. But since when has wisdom ever done something of real value? And so it was that human beings took a place in the galaxy. Not through conquest or through subjecthood, but through being the species who had unknowingly revealed the cosmos that the impossible was only a starting point. They broke and fixed things and made friends with things that shouldn't be. They solved things through doing as little as possible to them themselves. Controlled the impossible through not quite realizing it was impossible. And overall, made the galaxy a very much more compelling place to be. Others recount nights spent listening intently to the cosmic background radiation, on which on quiet evenings you can hear the distant echoing of human voices out deep in space, arguing cheerfully whether they should give it a try and run faster in light with something mighty, heavy in their arms, or whether they should first demand a coffee break for gravity. Either way, they'll give it a try. Because that's what human beings are. They try the impossible, manage through sheer will determination, and then laughingly apologize for having interfered. with the natural order of physics, and somehow, impossibly, it succeeds every time.